We're cutting you off. That's what my mother said. My name is Ava, and those were the words that defined my 18th birthday. It was a Tuesday. I was sitting at our stained oak dinner table, holding my college acceptance letter. It wasn't Ivy League, but it was a good school, and it came with a partial scholarship. I was proud. I thought they would be, too. My father, Richard, was hidden behind his newspaper. My mother, Brenda, was flipping through a high-end catalog, her expression bored. Mom, Dad. I got in, I said, my voice trembling just a little. I got a scholarship, but I'll still need some help with room and board. Brenda didn't look up. Ava, college is a personal choice. She circled something in the catalog with a red pen. We've done our part for 18 years. From now on, you're on your own financially. We're cutting you off. I waited for the punchline. There wasn't one. That's right, my father mumbled from behind his paper. You've got your scholarships. You'll figure it out. I looked from one parent to the other. There was no anger in me. Not yet. Just a cold, hollow confirmation of something I had always known deep down. I was a duty. An obligation, now fulfilled. I shouldn't have been surprised. My entire life had been this way. Our family wasn't a unit, it was a one-woman show, and the star was my younger sister, Mia. Brenda called Mia her miracle child. Mia was the pretty one, the bubbly one, the one who failed 3 classes but had so much personality. I was just Ava. The quiet one. The responsible one. The one who got straight A's that were met with a simple "that's nice." I remember our 16th birthdays. They were 2 months apart. Mia, who didn't even have a driver's license, was given an old convertible. It was a wreck, but my dad spent weeks fixing it up for her. For my birthday, my mother handed me Mia's used, expired bus pass. We're adding money to it, of course, she'd said, as if that was the generous part. Be grateful, Ava. Not everyone gets a ride. The smell of lemon-scented dish soap became the official scent of my invisibility. I was the one who cleaned up after Mia's parties. The one who finished homework assignments she forgot. The one who sat at the dinner table while our parents listened to every mundane detail of her day, their eyes glazed over with adoration. I told myself it was fine. I told myself that being independent made me strong. But it wasn't independence. It was just profound, crushing loneliness. Exactly 1 week after the cutting you off speech, I was in the university library, drowning in financial aid forms. I was looking at a student loan that would take me 30 years to pay off. My phone buzzed on the table. It was the family group chat. I'd been meaning to mute it. A photo popped up. It was from Brenda. There was Mia, grinning like she'd just won the lottery. In her hand, she was dangling a set of keys. Behind her, gleaming under a street lamp, was a brand-new, silver BMW 4 Series. The caption from my mother read, celebrating Mia's new marketing assistant job. A job Mom had gotten for her, by the way. Dad and I decided to co-sign on a little something to help her get started. So proud! I stared at the screen. The air left my lungs. It wasn't a $1,000 condo with a red ribbon. It was a $50,000 car. They didn't have $500 for my dorm deposit, but they had the credit and the down payment for a luxury vehicle for the daughter who had never earned $1 in her life. It was never about the money. It was about worth. And in their eyes, I had none. I didn't throw my phone. I didn't scream. I didn't call them. I just very calmly muted the chat, closed my laptop, walked back to my childhood bedroom, packed 2 suitcases with the few things that mattered, and called an Uber to my new, roach-infested dorm. I didn't leave a note. They wouldn't have noticed anyway. College was a blur of survival. My life was a grim cycle of three things: classes, my three jobs, and the smell of instant noodles in my damp, basement-level apartment. I worked at the campus library until midnight, I bartended at a dive bar on weekends, and I cleaned test tubes as a lab assistant for $10 an hour. I remember one brutal February night during my sophomore year. I was standing in the campus store, faced with an impossible choice. I had exactly $60 left in my bank account. I needed it for a required textbook on data structures. I also needed it for, well, food. I bought the book. For the next 4 days, I lived on free saltine crackers from the cafeteria and hot water mixed with ketchup packets. I told myself it tasted like tomato soup. All this time, the silence from my family was deafening. Not one phone call. Not one text asking, "Are you okay?" or "Do you have enough to eat?" The silence was broken by Dr. Lena Petrova. She was a stern, brilliant, Eastern European professor who ran the Advanced Computer Science Lab. She found me asleep at a terminal at 3 a.m., my face stuck to the keyboard. I thought I was about to be fired from my one decent-paying job. She didn't yell. She just squinted at my screen, scrolling through lines of code I'd been writing for a class project. "This algorithm is efficient," she said, her accent thick. "Most students, they just copy the textbook. They are lazy. You are thinking." I almost cried. It was the first time in my life an adult had looked at my work, at me, and seen potential instead of a problem. Dr. Petrova became the mentor I never had. She was ruthless. She tore my work apart, forced me to rebuild it, and demanded a level of excellence I didn't know I possessed. "Stop feeling sorry for yourself, Ava," she'd bark. "Your brain is a weapon. Use it." She pushed me to apply for graduate programs. I thought it was impossible. "Who will pay for it?" I asked. "The smart ones," she said, "never pay." She was right. I got a full-ride scholarship to Stanford for my PhD. The day I got the acceptance, I packed my 1998 Honda Civic, the one I'd bought myself for $900, and drove all the way to California. I didn't tell my family I was leaving the state. Stanford was different. My focus became singular, my research into using AI to detect anomalies in medical imaging. I was building a system that could spot cancer on a CT scan faster and more accurately than the human eye. That's where I met Sam Walker. He wasn't a scientist, he was a business student with sharp eyes and a cynical smile. He saw my thesis and said, "This isn't just a paper, Ava. This can save lives. And it can make us a lot of money." We formed a company from my dorm room. It was fueled by cold pizza, all-night coding sessions, and a stubborn belief that we could actually change something. Years of silence passed. Years of grinding, of failing, of pitching to investors who told me I was too young or too intense. Then one morning, my phone, which was usually silent, started to vibrate off the table. It was a text from an old college friend. "Holy crap, Ava. You're in Forbes." I dropped my coffee. There it was, on the Forbes website. My name. Ava. In the 30 under 30 list for health technology. There was my picture, looking tired but determined. It was a strange, hollow victory. I wasn't rich. Our company was still struggling. But I was real. My name was in print. I was officially someone. I couldn't be ignored. And I knew, in that gut-wrenching, stomach-dropping way, the silence from my family was about to end. Thank you for listening to the first part of my story. If you're finding this relatable, or if you're just angry on my behalf, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel. And while you're at it, subscribe and let me know in the comments what city you're listening from. Every comment helps this story reach more people. Thank you so much. The noise found me exactly 1 week later. My friend sent me another link. This time, to Facebook. It was my mother, Brenda. She had posted a smiling selfie of herself and Mia. The caption made my blood run cold. So incredibly proud of both my amazing daughters. Mia is just crushing it in the marketing world, and our little genius Ava just made a huge scientific breakthrough and got into Forbes. It just goes to show, all a mother's sacrifices are finally paying off. Sacrifices. The word was a violation. This woman hadn't spoken to me in 8 years. She hadn't paid for a single textbook, a single meal, a single tank of gas. She was rewriting history, claiming my success as her own dividend. I wanted to comment. I wanted to type, "What sacrifices? You cut me off." I wanted to expose the lie to all her smiling friends. But I didn't. I just closed the tab. I was learning that my silence was a weapon. And it was driving her crazy. 2 weeks after the Forbes article, I was in my real office. We'd finally moved out of the garage and into a small, glass-walled space. I was looking over a patent application when my assistant buzzed me. "Ava? There's Brenda, here to see you? She says she's family." My heart didn't just drop. It stopped. "Send her in," I said, my voice barely a whisper. The door opened, and the smell hit me first. That same heavy, expensive, floral perfume she always wore. She looked exactly the same. Perfect blonde hair. A crisp, white blouse. A designer handbag. She spread her arms wide, a brilliant, fake smile plastered on her face. "Ava, baby," she trilled, walking in as if she owned the place. I stood up slowly. "Mom." She ignored my coldness and scanned the office, her eyes taking in the glass walls, the patents on the wall, the hum of activity. Well. This is where the magic happens, huh? You didn't even tell us." Imagine my surprise, having to read about my own daughter in Forbes. "You could have called," I said, my voice flat. "Oh, I tried," she lied, waving her hand dismissively. "You changed your number, you're so busy." I figured I'd just pop in and celebrate. Family should celebrate together. She sat down in the chair opposite my desk, uninvited. She placed her expensive handbag on her lap and clicked it open. "Actually," she said, her tone shifting, the fake smile tightening. "I came because I've been doing a lot of thinking. About everything. All the sacrifices I made. All those years, raising you girls." My stomach clenched. "What are you talking about?" She pulled a single, folded piece of paper from her purse and slid it, very deliberately, across my desk. "This." I unfolded it. It wasn't a card. It wasn't a letter. It was an invoice. It was typed. Itemized. Living expenses, 18 years $250,000 K-12 private school tuition, $300,000, a complete, bald-faced lie. We went to public school. Medical and dental expenses, $150,000 emotional labor and household management, $300,000. And at the bottom, a neat, bold, underlined total, $1 million. I stared at it. I think I laughed. It was a short, sharp, ugly sound. "Is this a joke?" Her smile vanished, replaced by a cold, hard mask. "That's what you owe me," she said. "For everything I gave up for you. For my career. For my life." "Family doesn't work like that," I whispered, the paper trembling in my hand. "Family," she snapped, her voice suddenly sharp and ugly. "Family doesn't abandon the woman who gave them everything. I could have had a career. I could have been someone. You owe me this." I looked at the invoice. At the emotional labor. And something inside me, something that had been cracked for a decade, finally broke. I stood up. The trembling in my legs was gone, replaced by a sudden, glacial calm. "You chose to have me, Brenda," I said. Using her name felt like pulling a trigger. "I don't owe you for being born." She saw it in my eyes. She saw that the check was not coming. Her face twisted into a mask of pure rage. "Then you are no longer my daughter," she hissed. She stood, grabbing her purse. She walked to the door, and then she paused, her hand on the knob, and delivered her final shot. "Your father would be ashamed of what you've become." The door clicked shut. I stood there for a long time, just listening to the hum of the air conditioner. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just stared at the piece of paper. A receipt. $1 million invoice for a childhood I never even got. The shock wore off by morning. It was replaced by a cold, sharp focus. She hadn't just come for money. She had come to hurt me. To remind me that, no matter what I built, she still thought she owned me. I called my lawyer. "She's going to be a problem," I said. I explained the invoice. I told him she would try to sue, to go to the press, to create chaos. "What do you want to do?" my lawyer asked. "A restraining order?" "No," I said. "Something better. I want you to set up a trust." He was confused. "You want to give her the money?" "God, no," I said. "I want to control the narrative. Set up a trust in her name. Put enough in it for basic, non-negotiable living expenses. Rent in a modest apartment, utilities, a grocery stipend. But the terms are to be absolute. She never touches the principal. And if she, or anyone on her behalf, attempts to contact me, my partner Sam, or anyone at my company, the payments freeze for 6 months. No exceptions." My lawyer was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "You're protecting her from herself." "No," I corrected him. "I'm protecting me from her." My lawyer sent the paperwork to her last known address. The calls started almost immediately. She must have bought my new number from some data broker. Sam and I sat on our couch one night and just listened. We had to know how bad it would get. The first voicemail was pure rage. "You dare? You dare put conditions on me? You ungrateful little. I'll let you fill in the blank." The second voicemail, probably an hour later, was the tearful performance. "Ava, baby. I'm so sorry. I was just upset. I forgive you. Please, just send the money, we can be a real family again." The third voicemail, the one that made Sam's jaw clench, was the threat. "If you don't wire what you owe, maybe the press should know what Forbes' little genius is really like. How you abandoned your sick mother." Sam took the phone from my hand. He blocked the number. He blocked her email. He blocked her on every platform that existed. "You're done," he said, his voice firm. "That is the last time you will ever hear her voice." And it was. The noise just stopped. Our company was eventually acquired in a deal that made headlines. $100 million. It was a number so large it didn't feel real. Sam and I started a new foundation. We poured millions into a scholarship for young women in STEM, specifically, girls from low-income backgrounds. Girls who reminded me of me. 8 years passed. 8 quiet, happy, wonderful years. And then I saw her. I was in Seattle for a conference. It was a cold, rainy November afternoon. I was in a cab, and I saw a woman huddled on a wet curb outside a Starbucks, her hair gray and matted, her jacket thin and dirty. My heart stopped. The cab drove on, but I knew. I just knew. "Stop," I told the driver. "Stop here." I got out. I told myself I could just keep walking. God knows I thought about it. But I didn't. I went inside, and I bought 2 large, hot coffees. I walked back outside and sat down on the curb next to her. She didn't even look at me. She just grabbed the cup, her hands shaking. "God bless you," she mumbled. Then she looked up, her eyes cloudy and unfocused. And then, they focused. "Ava," she whispered. It sounded like the word hurt her. We talked. Or rather, she did. She was sick. Richard, my father, had left her years ago. Mia, the golden child, had married rich and moved to Dubai. She hadn't called her mother in years. She blamed the economy. She blamed my father. She blamed Mia. She never once blamed herself. I just listened. Before I got back in my cab, I made a call to my wealth manager. "The trust for Brenda," I said. "Increase the stipend. Find her an assisted living facility. A good one. And make sure she's warm." It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't for her. It was for me. I refused to let her make me as cruel as she was. A week later, a single envelope arrived at my office. No return address. Inside, on a crumpled piece of paper, in a shaky, frail hand, were 2 words. "Thank you." No signature. No apology. No admission of guilt. And yet, it was enough. I drove to the ocean that night and watched the sunset. I finally understood what closure was. It's not some big, tearful Hollywood conversation where everyone hugs and cries. It's not about getting the apology you deserve. Closure is the moment you stop waiting for the apology that will never come and you decide to live anyway. I don't hate my mother. I don't love her either. I just wish her peace. Somewhere very, very far from mine. So, I have to ask, was I wrong? Was I wrong to set up that trust with those conditions, or should I have just left her to the consequences of her own actions? Am I the asshole for refusing to pay the invoice for my childhood? Let me know what you would have done in the comments below. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever had to build yourself up from the silence your family left behind, know that you are not alone. Please hit that like button if this story resonated with you, and be sure to subscribe for more stories just like this one.